Have you ever noticed that the moment you stop desperately wanting something, it suddenly appears in your life? That when you finally give up on that person who was ignoring you, they start chasing you? That when you stop being available for struggle and desperation, opportunities begin flowing effortlessly toward you like they were just waiting for you to get out of your own way? If you're watching this, you're probably exhausted from chasing, tired of being the person who's always available for everyone else's needs while your own dreams remain perpetually unfulfilled. Tired of saying yes to opportunities that drain you, relationships that don't serve you, and situations that keep you stuck in patterns of limitation and scarcity that seem to repeat no matter how hard you try to break free. Maybe you're the person who drops everything when someone calls, who accepts jobs that undervalue your worth, who stays in relationships where you give everything and receive little in return. Maybe you've noticed that the harder you chase what you want, the more it seems to run away from you. The more available you make yourself for struggle, the more struggle you attract. The more desperately you need something to happen, the less likely it becomes to actually manifest. You've probably tried everything to change your circumstances. You've worked harder, been kinder, sacrificed more, made yourself even more available, thinking that if you just gave enough, did enough, or became enough, the universe would finally reward your efforts. But instead of rewards, you've received more of the same patterns that keep you feeling stuck, frustrated, and wondering why everyone else seems to attract what they want, while you remain empty-handed. Today, you're going to discover why your availability, your constant seeking, your desperate need for things to happen, your willingness to accept anything rather than nothing, is actually the precise energetic frequency that repels everything you desire most. But more importantly, you're going to learn how to recognize the exact moment when you need to stop being available, and how this creates a quantum shift that makes the universe deliver everything you've been trying to manifest for years. This isn't about giving up on your dreams or becoming indifferent to outcomes. This isn't about playing hard to get or manipulating circumstances through withholding. This is about understanding a fundamental law of quantum physics and consciousness that governs how reality responds to different states of being. When you master this principle, you stop being someone who chases and become someone who naturally attracts. You transform from a seeker into a magnet. The breakthrough understanding comes from quantum physics research, showing that the universe operates like a perfect mirror of consciousness, reflecting back to us experiences that match our deepest energetic signature. Dr. Joe Dispenza's groundbreaking studies using advanced brain imaging technology and electromagnetic field measurements reveal that when you're in states of need, desperation, or constant availability for something to happen, your brain produces chaotic, incoherent electromagnetic frequencies that actually repel the experiences you're trying to attract. Dr. Dispenza's research team, working with thousands of participants over more than 2 decades, discovered that desperate seeking creates what they call stress chemistry in the body. When you're constantly available for something to happen, constantly checking for signs, constantly hoping and waiting, your nervous system interprets this as a threat state. Your body produces stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline that not only make you feel anxious and scattered, but actually broadcast an electromagnetic signature of lack and desperation. But when you shift into what Dr. Dispenza calls elevated emotional states, combined with strategic unavailability for limitation, your brain generates coherent, organized frequencies that naturally magnetize experiences aligned with your desires. Your nervous system shifts from survival mode to creation mode, producing hormones like DHEA, serotonin, and oxytocin that create feelings of wholeness, joy, and abundance. You literally become a different type of energetic being, one that attracts rather than chases, one that receives rather than desperately seeks, one that naturally draws opportunities instead of struggling to create them through force and effort. The ancient Taoists understood this principle perfectly through the concept of Wu Wei, often translated as effortless action or non-forcing. Lao Tzu taught in the Tao Te Ching that the sage does not contend, yet no one can contend with him. He does not struggle, yet he achieves everything. He does not force, yet nothing is left undone. This wasn't philosophical poetry or mystical metaphor. It was a precise description of how universal laws operate at the deepest level of reality. When you stop being available for struggle and limitation, when you cease trying to force outcomes through desperate effort, you automatically align with what the Taoists called the Ti, the natural power and flow of the universe itself. But here's what most people completely misunderstand about unavailability, and why their attempts to apply this principle often fail. It's not about becoming cold, distant, or indifferent to life and other people. It's not about withholding love or becoming emotionally unavailable as a manipulation strategy. True unavailability is an internal state of such complete self-worth and connection to infinite source that you no longer need external circumstances to validate your value or provide your happiness and fulfillment. This shift from needy availability to empowered unavailability creates what quantum field researchers call a coherent attractor field effect. Instead of broadcasting the frequency of lack, desperation, and incompleteness, you begin radiating the frequency of wholeness, worthiness, and completion. The universe, operating as a perfect mirror of consciousness, must then reflect back experiences that match this elevated frequency. Dr. David Hawkins, psychiatrist and consciousness researcher who spent more than 30 years studying the relationship between different levels of consciousness and their corresponding power levels, made discoveries that revolutionize our understanding of how availability and unavailability affect our reality. Using precise muscle testing and biofeedback techniques, he created what he called the map of consciousness, a scale from 1 to 1,000 that measures different states of awareness. Dr. Hawkins discovered that consciousness levels below 200, including shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, and pride, actually weaken the physical body and make you vulnerable to manipulation, disappointment, and continued experiences of lack and limitation. People operating from these lower levels are constantly available for suffering because they're seeking external sources to fill internal voids. But consciousness levels above 200, including courage, neutrality, willingness, acceptance, reason, love, joy, peace, and enlightenment, create what Dr. Hawkins called attractor fields that naturally draw positive experiences, supportive relationships, and abundant opportunities, while simultaneously repelling negative influences and limiting circumstances. When you become unavailable for low-frequency experiences by raising your consciousness above the critical level of 200, you automatically begin attracting high-frequency realities. This isn't positive thinking or wishful manifestation. It's applied quantum mechanics based on how consciousness and energy interact at fundamental levels. The key insight that changes everything is this: you cannot attract from a place of lack what you seek to fill that lack. If you're trying to manifest love from a place of loneliness and emotional neediness, money from a place of financial fear and scarcity consciousness, or success from a place of inadequacy and self-doubt, you're broadcasting the very frequency of what you don't want to experience. The universe doesn't hear your words or understand your intentions. It responds to your energetic signature. If your signature is saying, "I don't have this and I desperately need it," the universe delivers more experiences of not having and desperately needing. But when you become genuinely unavailable for loneliness, financial struggle, and feelings of inadequacy, not through denial or suppression, but through cultivating such deep self-love and connection to Source that these states simply cannot exist in your energy field, you create space for love, abundance, and success to enter your experience naturally and effortlessly. Neville Goddard, one of the most powerful manifestation teachers in history, taught this principle through what he called living in the end, or the state of the wish fulfilled. He understood, decades before quantum physics proved it scientifically, that consciousness is the only reality, and everything else in the physical world is simply consciousness, expressing itself in form. Neville taught that when you can live from the internal state of already having what you desire, not through pretending or positive thinking, but through genuine embodiment of that reality in your imagination and emotions, that state must manifest as your external experience, because consciousness always externalizes itself. But living in the end isn't about pretending you have something you don't have, or engaging in fantasy thinking that ignores current circumstances. It's about recognizing that your desired reality already exists in the quantum field of infinite possibilities, and by becoming unavailable for its opposite, you allow it to collapse from potential into actualized experience. Abraham Hicks, channeling the collective consciousness known as Abraham, teaches this same principle through what they call vibrational alignment and the law of attraction. According to Abraham, everything in existence vibrates at specific frequencies, and like frequencies are attracted to each other, while opposite frequencies repel. When you're emotionally available for struggle, lack, and limitation, when these states feel familiar and you unconsciously expect them, you vibrate at those lower frequencies and attract matching experiences. When you become emotionally unavailable for those frequencies, meaning they feel foreign and unacceptable to your energy system, and align consistently with higher frequencies of ease, abundance, and joy, you automatically attract experiences that match your elevated vibration. The challenge most people face is that they've been conditioned by family, society, and religious teachings to believe that being available for everything, especially struggle, sacrifice, and suffering, is being responsible, caring, or spiritual. They think that saying no, having standards, or becoming unavailable for poor treatment somehow makes them selfish, unloving, or spiritually immature. But this is backwards thinking rooted in victimhood consciousness that keeps people trapped in patterns of limitation and disappointment. True love, including and especially self-love, requires boundaries. True abundance requires unavailability for scarcity. True success requires unavailability for settling for less than you deserve. True spirituality requires unavailability for anything that diminishes your connection to divine source. Dr. Bruce Lipton's revolutionary research in cellular biology and epigenetics provides the scientific foundation for understanding why unavailability for limitation is not just psychologically healthy, but biologically necessary. His studies prove that your cells are constantly reading electromagnetic signals from your thoughts and emotions and adjusting their function accordingly. When you're emotionally available for stress, struggle, and desperation, when these states feel normal and you unconsciously accept them as just the way life is, your cells receive chemical signals that activate survival genes. These genes shut down growth, creativity, immune function, and healing while preparing your body for threat and scarcity. You literally become biologically programmed for limitation. But when you become emotionally unavailable for these low-frequency states and align consistently with peace, confidence, joy, and gratitude, your cells receive entirely different chemical signals that activate growth genes. These genes optimize immune function, enhance cognitive abilities, promote healing and regeneration, and prepare your body for expansion and abundance. Your unavailability for limitation doesn't just change your external circumstances. It literally transforms your biology to support your highest potential, rather than merely helping you survive in limitation. The quantum field, the invisible energy field that connects all things and from which all matter emerges, responds to your energetic signature, not your words, intentions, or even actions. If your energetic signature is broadcasting, "I need this desperately," or "I'm available for anything because I'm afraid of having nothing," the field interprets this as the frequency of lack and delivers more experiences of lack. If your energetic signature is broadcasting, "I am complete and whole and only available for experiences that serve my highest good," the field delivers experiences that match this sense of completion and worthiness. This is why people who are unavailable for poor treatment in relationships rarely receive it, while people who are available for anything, even mistreatment, often attract the most toxic partners. It's why those who become unavailable for financial struggle often find money and opportunities flowing to them with surprising ease, while those who are desperately available for any income, regardless of how it compromises their values or depletes their energy, often remain financially stressed despite working harder than everyone else. The quantum shift happens when you recognize that your energy, attention, and life force are precious resources that should not be given away carelessly to people, situations, or opportunities that don't genuinely serve your highest evolution and greatest joy. When you become protective of your energy, not from fear or selfishness, but from profound self-respect and love, you create the energetic conditions necessary for miracles to occur. Ancient Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, who ruled the Roman Empire at its height while maintaining inner peace and wisdom, understood this principle deeply. He wrote in his personal journal, which became known as Meditations, that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius understood that external circumstances have no inherent power over your internal state, unless you make yourself available to be disturbed, upset, or controlled by them. When you become unavailable for being emotionally reactive to external conditions, you develop what the Stoics called ataraxia, unshakability in the face of any situation. From this unshakable, unavailable for disturbance state, you can respond to life's challenges from wisdom and centeredness, rather than react from wounds and fear, creating entirely different outcomes in every situation you encounter. The first step to mastering the power of unavailability is conducting what I call an availability audit. Honestly examining where you're currently available for experiences you don't actually want to have. This requires brutal honesty about your patterns and habits, but it's essential for transformation. Are you available for being treated poorly in relationships because you're afraid of being alone? Are you available for financial stress and struggle because you've accepted the belief that money is hard to come by, or I have to work hard to deserve abundance? Are you available for work that drains your soul because you're convinced that a job is just supposed to pay the bills, not bring fulfillment? Are you available for drama, chaos, and emotional volatility because they feel familiar and predictable? Most people are unconsciously available for these limiting experiences because they seem normal. They're what they grew up with. or because they believe that being available for anything shows they're flexible, accommodating, or spiritually advanced. But this misguided availability creates exactly the experiences they claim they don't want. The availability audit might reveal uncomfortable truths about how you've been unconsciously sabotaging your own growth and happiness by being available for limitation out of fear, habit, or conditioning. But this awareness is the first step toward freedom. Strategic unavailability means consciously choosing to be unavailable for anything that doesn't serve your highest good, while simultaneously becoming increasingly available for experiences that align with your deepest values, authentic desires, and unlimited potential. If you want genuinely loving relationships, you must become unavailable for people who don't appreciate you, respect your boundaries, or reciprocate your investment of energy and care. If you want financial abundance and freedom, you must become unavailable for opportunities that significantly undervalue your worth or keep you trapped in survival thinking. If you want fulfilling work that energizes you, you must become unavailable for jobs that crush your spirit, waste your talents, or require you to compromise your integrity for a paycheck. But here's the crucial element that most people miss, and why their attempts to become unavailable often backfire. This unavailability must come from genuine self-love and self-respect, not from fear, anger, or judgment toward others. The consciousness behind your unavailability determines whether it attracts what you desire or creates more of what you're trying to avoid. Fear-based unavailability. Becoming unavailable because you're afraid of being hurt, rejected, or disappointed actually broadcasts the frequency of fear and attracts more situations that validate those fears. Love-based unavailability. Becoming unavailable because you recognize your infinite worth and refuse to accept anything less than experiences that honor that worth. Broadcasts the frequency of love and attracts experiences that reflect your self-appreciation. The universe responds to the consciousness and emotion behind your choices, not just the choices themselves. When your unavailability comes from wisdom rather than wounds, from self-respect rather than self-protection, it creates an entirely different energetic signature that attracts dramatically different results. Dr. Candace Pert's groundbreaking research on neuropeptides, the molecules that carry emotional information throughout your body, proves that emotions are not just subjective feelings, but biochemical realities that affect every cell and system in your body. When you consistently practice love-based unavailability for limitation, you literally change your brain chemistry and hormonal patterns to support confidence, self-worth, and magnetic attraction rather than fear, insecurity, and repelling what you desire. The second step in mastering unavailability is learning to recognize the divine signals that indicate when you should become unavailable for particular people, situations, or patterns. These signs often appear as feelings of exhaustion with old ways of being, a deep internal knowing that you deserve better treatment or experiences, or an intuitive sense that continuing to be available for certain experiences will prevent something infinitely better from entering your life. This sacred exhaustion with limitation is not weakness, laziness, or giving up. It's wisdom. It's your higher self, your soul, your connection to infinite intelligence, creating the internal conditions necessary for your next level of evolution. Most people try to push through this exhaustion, forcing themselves to remain available for what no longer serves them. But conscious people recognize it as a divine invitation to upgrade their standards and expectations. When you feel genuinely tired of settling, tired of chasing what doesn't want to be caught, tired of being available for experiences that diminish your light and drain your vitality, that's the universe's way of preparing you for a quantum leap into a higher level of reality. The exhaustion is actually grace in disguise, burning away your tolerance for limitation so you can become available for extraordinary possibilities. Often, this exhaustion is accompanied by what mystics throughout history have called divine discontent, a restless feeling that there must be more to life than what you're currently experiencing, that you're capable of so much more than your current circumstances allow, that you're here for something greater than just surviving or getting by. This divine discontent is not depression or dissatisfaction to be medicated away. It's your soul calling you toward your highest potential. It's the part of you that knows you deserve love, abundance, joy, and fulfillment, refusing to settle for less any longer. The third step is understanding that becoming unavailable for old patterns often creates what appears to be a void or empty space in your life. And this void can feel deeply uncomfortable if you don't understand its purpose. You may find yourself ending relationships that no longer align with your growth, leaving jobs that no longer inspire you, or saying no to invitations and opportunities that once seemed necessary but now feel draining. This can create anxiety because you're releasing what you've known without yet seeing what will replace it. Your logical mind, trained to prefer the familiar even when it's limiting, may panic and try to convince you to return to old patterns of availability because the known limitation feels safer than unknown possibility. But this temporary void is what quantum physicists call the quantum gap, the space between your old reality and your new one, the interval between releasing what no longer serves and receiving what perfectly aligns with your elevated consciousness. Most people collapse during this gap and return to their previous patterns of availability because the uncertainty feels too uncomfortable. However, if you can remain unavailable for old limitations even when new possibilities haven't fully manifested yet, if you can trust the process and maintain your elevated standards during this transition period, this gap becomes the sacred space where miracles occur. It's where the universe reorganizes reality to match your new energetic signature and deliver experiences that exceed your previous imagination. The quantum gap requires faith, not blind belief, but deep knowing that your unavailability for limitation must result in limitation's absence from your experience. Natural law dictates that when you stop being available for something, it cannot remain in your reality. The gap is simply the time it takes for this natural law to rearrange circumstances to match your new frequency. The fourth step is maintaining your unavailability even when it's tested, because the universe will always test your commitment to new standards before fully delivering the experiences that match them. When you first become unavailable for poor treatment in relationships, some people may initially treat you worse to see if you'll return to your old pattern of accepting whatever you receive. When you become unavailable for financial struggle, you may face temporary financial challenges that test whether you'll panic and return to scarcity thinking. These tests are not punishments from a cruel universe or evidence that unavailability doesn't work. They're the natural result of reality reorganizing itself around your new standards. Think of them as cosmic quality control, ensuring that you're genuinely committed to your transformation rather than just temporarily trying something new. The universe wants to know, are you seriously unavailable for limitation, or are you just experimenting with the idea? Will you maintain your elevated standards when they're challenged, or will you compromise and return to old patterns the moment things get uncomfortable? Those who pass these tests by maintaining their unavailability for limitation, regardless of temporary challenges, graduate to entirely new levels of reality where their elevated standards become the norm. Those who fail the tests by compromising their unavailability during difficult moments return to their previous experiences of limitation, often feeling like the technique doesn't work. but the technique always works. The question is whether you're willing to work the technique consistently, even when it's challenging. Ancient mystery schools and spiritual traditions throughout history recognized that every initiation, every movement to a higher level of consciousness and experience involves a period of testing where your commitment to growth is challenged. The Egyptians called this the dark night of the soul. The Hindus called it tapas, or spiritual discipline. The Christians called it trials of faith. These testing periods are not obstacles to overcome, but necessary parts of the transformation process. They develop the spiritual strength and unwavering commitment required to maintain elevated consciousness and attract elevated experiences consistently. The fifth step is recognizing that ultimate unavailability is not about what you won't accept from others or external circumstances. It's about what you will and won't accept from yourself. The deepest level of unavailability is becoming unavailable for playing small, hiding your gifts, compromising your values for approval, or settling for a fraction of your true potential. When you become unavailable for self-doubt, self-criticism, self-sabotage, and limiting beliefs about what's possible for someone like you, you create space for your authentic power, creativity, and magnificence to emerge. When you're unavailable for treating yourself with anything less than love, respect, and appreciation, you teach everyone around you how to treat you through your own example. This level of unavailability transforms you from someone who seeks external validation to someone who generates internal validation so consistently that external validation becomes irrelevant. You stop needing others to see your worth because you embody it so completely that it becomes undeniable to anyone in your presence. This is what the Persian poet Rumi meant when he wrote, "Let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will not lead you astray." When you become unavailable for everything except what genuinely calls to your soul, what authentically excites and inspires you, you align with a magnetic force that guides you toward experiences and opportunities that perfectly match your deepest desires and highest purpose. But perhaps the most profound aspect of mastering unavailability is understanding that it's not a destination you reach or a permanent state you achieve, but a way of being you embody moment by moment, choice by choice, interaction by interaction. Every conversation is an opportunity to practice healthy boundaries. Every decision is a chance to demonstrate your standards. Every challenge is an invitation to prove your commitment to your own growth and well-being. The universe is constantly presenting you with options. Will you be available for this limiting experience? Or will you choose to be unavailable for anything that doesn't serve your highest good? Your responses to these moment-by-moment choices determine what experiences manifest in your reality over time. When someone treats you disrespectfully and you remain kind but firmly unavailable for mistreatment, you teach both them and the universe that you only accept interactions that honor your inherent dignity. When financial challenges arise and you remain calm and unavailable for panic or desperation while taking practical steps to improve your situation, you signal to the quantum field that you expect solutions and opportunities rather than prolonged struggle. When opportunities that look good on the surface but feel wrong in your body present themselves, and you remain unavailable for compromising your inner knowing for external security, you create space for opportunities that align with both your practical needs and your authentic desires. This doesn't mean being rigid, demanding perfection from yourself or others, or becoming so unavailable that you isolate yourself from all human connection and experience. It means developing such clear inner knowing of what genuinely serves your growth and happiness that you naturally gravitate toward experiences that support your evolution while naturally repelling those that would diminish your light or compromise your integrity. The compound effect of consistent unavailability for limitation is remarkable and often seems miraculous to people who haven't understood these principles. Over time, you begin to notice that difficult people either transform their behavior in your presence or naturally remove themselves from your life without drama or conflict. Opportunities that once required struggle, manipulation, or compromising your values begin appearing effortlessly. Resources, support, and synchronicities flow toward you because you're no longer available for the scarcity consciousness that blocks abundance. Your health improves because you're unavailable for the stress and toxic emotions that create illness. Your relationships become more harmonious because you're unavailable for drama, manipulation, and emotional volatility. Your entire reality reorganizes itself to match your elevated standards because the universe always delivers experiences that match your deepest beliefs about what you deserve, what's possible, and what kind of person you are. But the most beautiful and sustainable transformation happens within your own consciousness. You develop unshakable self-respect that doesn't depend on external validation or perfect circumstances. You access inner peace that remains stable regardless of what's happening around you. You discover natural joy that doesn't need reasons to justify itself. This inner transformation is what makes the outer changes permanent and sustainable. When your unavailability for limitation comes from genuine self-love rather than fear, control, or manipulation, it creates lasting change rather than temporary improvement that eventually reverts to old patterns. Wallace Wattles, author of The Science of Getting Rich, and one of the foundational teachers of what became known as the New Thought movement, understood that true prosperity comes from what he called maintaining a certain way of thinking, a mental attitude that expects abundance and refuses to entertain thoughts of lack or limitation. This is unavailability applied to consciousness itself, becoming unavailable for thoughts, beliefs, and mental patterns that support scarcity, while becoming consistently available for thoughts, beliefs, and mental patterns that support abundance and unlimited possibility. Napoleon Hill, through his study of the most successful people of his era, discovered that they all possessed what he called definiteness of purpose, such clear focus on their goals and such unwavering belief in their achievement that they became unavailable for distractions, doubts, or settling for less than they had envisioned. Bob Proctor taught that paradigms, the subconscious programming that runs most of our lives, determine our results more than our conscious efforts. When you become unavailable for paradigms of limitation and consistently available only for paradigms of possibility and abundance, you literally reprogram your subconscious mind to attract different experiences automatically. The practical application of strategic unavailability involves examining and upgrading your standards in several key areas where most people unconsciously accept limitation. In relationships, become unavailable for connections that are consistently one-sided, where you invest much more emotional energy, time, and care than you receive in return. Become unavailable for drama, manipulation, emotional abuse, or partners who take your love for granted. Become available only for relationships characterized by mutual respect, genuine appreciation, emotional support, and commitment to each other's growth and happiness. In career and work, become unavailable for jobs that significantly underutilize your talents, skills, and potential, or that compensate you unfairly for the value you provide. Become unavailable for toxic work environments where politics, gossip, or negativity dominate the culture. Become unavailable for roles that require you to compromise your integrity, values, or authentic self-expression for a paycheck. Become available only for opportunities that energize you, align with your values, and allow you to contribute your unique gifts while being fairly compensated. In finances, become unavailable for chronic money anxiety, scarcity thinking, or beliefs that you must struggle financially, or that wanting abundance is somehow selfish or unspiritual. Become unavailable for financial decisions made primarily from fear rather than wisdom. Become available only for abundant thinking, prosperity consciousness, and financial choices that support your long-term freedom and ability to contribute to others. In health and well-being, become unavailable for chronic stress, self-neglect, or lifestyle habits that compromise your physical vitality, mental clarity, or emotional stability. Become unavailable for relationships or situations that consistently drain your energy or require you to suppress your authentic feelings. Become available only for choices, relationships, and experiences that support your highest physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. In personal growth and self-expression, become unavailable for limiting beliefs about your potential, capabilities, or worthiness. Become unavailable for comparing yourself negatively to others or seeking validation and approval from external sources. Become unavailable for hiding your talents, dimming your light, or playing small to make others comfortable. Become available only for recognizing and expressing your unique gifts, following your authentic interests and passions, and sharing your true self with the world. The key to successful unavailability is always remembering that it's fundamentally an act of love, not rejection or judgment. You're not becoming unavailable because you hate limitation, struggle, or difficult people. You're becoming unavailable because you love possibility, growth, and your own unlimited potential. You're not rejecting what you don't want out of anger or fear. You're choosing what serves your highest good out of wisdom and self-respect. This loving, wisdom-based unavailability creates a powerful magnetic field around you that naturally attracts people and experiences aligned with your elevated standards, while gently repelling those that would compromise your growth or happiness. It's not a wall that separates you from life. It's a filter that allows in only what serves your highest evolution. Ancient Vedantic teachings describe this discriminating wisdom as viveka, the developed ability to distinguish between what serves spiritual evolution and liberation, and what creates further bondage and limitation. When you develop viveka, you naturally become unavailable for experiences that would bind you to lower levels of consciousness, and automatically available for those that liberate your highest potential. The Buddha taught about right association, the importance of surrounding yourself only with influences that support awakening and wisdom, while avoiding those that perpetuate ignorance, suffering, or unconscious behavior. This is unavailability practiced as spiritual discipline and conscious evolution. Jesus demonstrated unavailability when he taught, "Be in the world, but not of the world." He engaged fully and lovingly with life while remaining unavailable for being diminished, limited, or controlled by worldly circumstances and other people's unconscious projections. These enlightened masters understood that consciousness is the most precious thing in existence and must be carefully guarded from influences that would compromise its clarity, power, and natural connection to divine source. They became unavailable for anything that would dim their inner light or disconnect them from their true nature. As you practice strategic unavailability consistently over time, you'll begin to notice that what once required tremendous effort, struggle, and force begins happening naturally and effortlessly. Doors open without you having to push them. People treat you well without you having to demand respect. Opportunities appear without desperate seeking or manipulation. This isn't because you've suddenly become lucky, special, or favored by the universe. It's because you've aligned with natural laws that govern how energy, consciousness, and reality interact at fundamental levels. When you respect yourself enough to become unavailable for limitation in any form, the universe respects you enough to deliver unlimited possibilities. Your unavailability for old patterns creates energetic space for new miracles to manifest. Your unavailability for settling opens wide the door to experiencing your true potential. Your unavailability for anything less than your highest good sends a clear signal to the quantum field that you're ready for extraordinary experiences that match your elevated consciousness. The universe has been patiently waiting for you to recognize your infinite worth and claim your unlimited power. It's been waiting for you to become unavailable for struggle so it can deliver ease and flow. It's been waiting for you to stop desperately chasing what you desire so it can begin effortlessly delivering what you deserve. The moment you truly become unavailable for limitation in any area of your life, you step into a completely new reality where everything you've been seeking naturally flows toward you. Not because you've manipulated circumstances or forced outcomes through will and effort, but because you've finally aligned with who you really are at the deepest level and what you truly deserve as an infinite being having a human experience. Your availability created your current reality through the choices you made about what you would and wouldn't accept. Your strategic unavailability for anything less than extraordinary will create your new reality through the elevated standards you now maintain. The choice, as it has always been, remains entirely yours. The universe is simply waiting for you to make it consciously and consistently.